There is a town in Cumbria, on the northwest coast of England, where roughly 10,000 people go to work every day on something they are not really supposed to talk about. The town is Barrow-in-Furness. The workplace is BAE Systems Submarine Shipyard. And the thing they are building, slowly, meticulously, behind security fences and layers of classification, is the single most destructive weapon system the United Kingdom has ever constructed. HMS Dreadnought is not a warship in the way most people understand the word. It is not designed to fight battles. It is not designed to sink enemy fleets or deliver marines to a contested shore. It is designed to do one thing: disappear beneath the ocean and make the annihilation of any country that launches a nuclear attack on Britain an absolute mathematical certainty. It exists so that it never has to be used. And the engineering required to make that paradox work, to build a machine so terrifying that its purpose is to prevent its own employment, is one of the most extraordinary feats of technology on the planet. 4 of these submarines are being built: HMS Dreadnought, HMS Valiant, HMS Warspite, and HMS King George VI. When the first enters service in the early 2030s, it will be the largest, most powerful, and most technically advanced submarine the Royal Navy has ever operated. It will replace the Vanguard-class, which has maintained Britain's continuous at-sea deterrent, an unbroken chain of nuclear-armed submarine patrols, since April 1969. For over 56 years, every single day, without exception, at least one British ballistic missile submarine has been somewhere in the ocean, hidden, armed, and ready. The Dreadnought-class exists to ensure that chain does not break. Let's start with the machine itself, because the scale alone is difficult to grasp. Each Dreadnought submarine will displace approximately 17,700 tons submerged. Some sources cite up to 18,600 tons, depending on configuration. It will measure 153.6 meters in length. That is longer than 3 Olympic swimming pools laid end to end. The beam is approximately 13 meters. The hull is constructed from high-grade steel, precision welded to tolerances measured in fractions of a millimeter, because at depth, under pressure, any imperfection becomes a potential catastrophe. The pressure hull, the inner structure that keeps the crew alive, must withstand the crushing force of hundreds of meters of ocean above it, while maintaining an internal environment stable enough for 130 people to live and work for months without surfacing. The propulsion system is a Rolls-Royce pressurized water reactor, a new generation nuclear plant that represents the latest in British submarine reactor technology. In January 2025, Rolls-Royce was awarded a £9 billion contract covering the research, design, manufacture, and support of all nuclear reactors across the Royal Navy's submarine fleet. The reactor gives the Dreadnought essentially unlimited range. It does not need to refuel for the entire operational life of the submarine, potentially 35 to 40 years. The only constraint on how long it can stay submerged is the crew's need for food, and the occasional requirement to surface for communication. In practice, patrol durations are measured in months. The submarine leaves port, dives, and vanishes. For the next several months, it exists in the most complete form of military concealment available to any nation on Earth. The Dreadnought-class incorporates an X-shaped stern configuration, a departure from the cruciform stern used on the Vanguard-class. The X-stern provides improved maneuverability, particularly in shallow water and during approach to port, and it offers a degree of redundancy. If one control surface is damaged, the remaining 3 can compensate. Combined with a fly-by-wire ship control system, replacing the mechanical and hydraulic linkages of older submarines with computerized digital controls, the Dreadnought will be more agile and more responsive than its predecessor, handled through joystick-style interfaces rather than traditional wheels and planes. Stealth is not a feature of this submarine, it is the entire point. Everything about the Dreadnought's design is oriented toward making it undetectable. The reactor plant is mounted on advanced acoustic isolation systems designed to minimize the transmission of mechanical noise through the hull into the surrounding water. The propulsion system, likely a pump jet rather than a conventional propeller, consistent with the latest generation of nuclear submarines, reduces cavitation noise, the telltale signature that anti-submarine forces listen for. Hull coatings absorb active sonar pulses rather than reflecting them. Every piece of internal machinery is designed, mounted, and operated with noise reduction as a primary consideration. The submarine's crew is trained to operate in a culture of silence. At depth, in patrol mode, the Dreadnought will be one of the quietest objects in the ocean, a 17,000-ton machine producing less noise than the ambient background of the sea itself. This matters because detection is the only thing that can defeat a ballistic missile submarine. If an adversary cannot find the submarine, it cannot destroy it. And if it cannot destroy it, then the weapons it carries remain a guaranteed retaliatory capability, the foundation of nuclear deterrence. The entire multi-billion-pound investment in stealth technology, reactor quieting, hull design, and operational procedures exists to ensure one outcome: that no adversary can ever be confident it has located all of Britain's nuclear submarines. That uncertainty is the deterrent. Not the missiles, not the warheads, the uncertainty. Now, the weapons, because this is where the mathematics of destruction become difficult to process in human terms. The Dreadnought-class will carry the Trident II D5 submarine-launched ballistic missile. Each submarine will be equipped with 12 missile tubes housed in a common missile compartment, a section designed jointly by the United Kingdom and the United States, shared with the American Columbia-class submarines that are being built in parallel. This commonality is one of the most significant aspects of the Anglo-American nuclear relationship. The same missile compartment architecture, the same launch systems, the same missile, operated by two separate sovereign nations with independent command authority. The Trident II D5 is a three-stage, solid-fueled ballistic missile with a range generally described as exceeding 7,400 kilometers, though the actual maximum range remains classified. It is launched from beneath the surface while the submarine is submerged. The missile breaks the surface, ignites its rocket motors, ascends through the atmosphere, and releases its payload in the exo-atmosphere, above the effective reach of any currently deployed missile defense system. Each Trident can carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, MIRVs, meaning a single missile can strike several separate targets hundreds of kilometers apart. The exact number of warheads per missile in British service is classified, but under current policy, the UK deploys no more than 40 warheads across the missiles carried on a single submarine. Those warheads are undergoing their own generational renewal. The UK is developing the A-21 warhead, also known by its program name Estrella, to replace the current warhead based on the American W-76 design. The Estrella program runs in parallel with America's W-93 warhead development, and while the exact relationship between the two designs is classified, the coordination ensures that British and American nuclear capabilities remain technically aligned through the middle of the century and beyond. To put the destructive capability in perspective, a single Dreadnought submarine, carrying its complement of Trident missiles and warheads, possesses sufficient firepower to devastate any nation on Earth. A single warhead detonating over a major city would produce casualties in the hundreds of thousands. The combined payload of one submarine, operating alone without support from an unknown position in the ocean, represents a level of destructive power that exceeds the total firepower expended by all sides in the Second World War. This is not hyperbole, it is physics. And it is the reason that nuclear deterrence works, because the consequences of a first strike are so catastrophic, so certain, and so unavoidable that no rational actor would initiate one. The Continuous At-Sea Deterrent, CASD, is the operational doctrine that turns the Dreadnought from a weapon into a strategic posture. Since 1969, the Royal Navy has maintained at least one ballistic missile submarine on patrol at all times. Not most of the time, all of the time. Through every crisis, every budget cut, every political upheaval, every Christmas, every election, every day for over 56 years, one submarine has always been out there. The operational achievement of maintaining an unbroken deterrent patrol for more than half a century is one of the most remarkable sustained military commitments in modern history, and the Dreadnought-class exists to ensure it continues for at least another 40 years. This means that regardless of what happens on land, regardless of whether Britain's military bases are destroyed, its government is decapitated, its communications are severed, there is always a submarine somewhere in the ocean, armed, crewed, and authorized to retaliate. The submarine does not need to receive an order to know what to do. Before every patrol, the Prime Minister writes a letter of last resort, a handwritten instruction sealed in a safe aboard the submarine, to be opened only if the government has been destroyed and no chain of command remains. The contents of that letter are known only to the Prime Minister who wrote it. Each new Prime Minister writes a new one. The old letters are destroyed unopened. This is the loneliest decision in British public life, and it produces the loneliest command in the Royal Navy. The captain of a Dreadnought submarine on patrol operates in a state of deliberate isolation. Communication with the outside world is minimal and one-directional. The submarine listens but rarely transmits, because transmission creates a detectable signal. The crew, 130 people, including for the first time in the Dreadnought-class, a fully integrated mixed-gender complement, lives in a sealed environment for months. They have a gym, a classroom, a galley run by 3 chefs, a doctor, and a lighting system that simulates day and night cycles to maintain circadian rhythm in a world without sunlight. They know their mission, they train for it constantly, and they operate with the understanding that the best possible outcome of their patrol is that absolutely nothing happens. The program's cost is enormous and has been a source of sustained political debate. The initial estimate in 2011 was £25 billion. By 2015, that had risen to £31 billion, with an additional $10 billion in contingency. The total investment in the Dreadnought program, including reactor development, warhead renewal, infrastructure upgrades at Barrow-in-Furness, and HM Naval Base Clyde, the new Trident training facility that opened in March 2026, and the broader defense nuclear enterprise, will likely exceed £50 billion over the program's lifetime. Around half of the UK's entire defense equipment spending goes toward the nuclear deterrent. Critics argue that this crowds out conventional military capability, that the Royal Navy's shrinking surface fleet, its undermanned frigates, its delayed shipbuilding programs are all partly consequences of the nuclear deterrent's enormous claim on the defense budget. That criticism is not trivial, but the counter-argument is equally direct. No other capability in the British military protects the nation from existential threats. Frigates protect shipping lanes, fighter jets defend airspace, tanks hold territory. A Dreadnought submarine protects the existence of the state itself. It is the reason no nuclear-armed adversary can threaten Britain with annihilation and expect to survive. Whether that protection is worth the trade-offs in conventional capability is the central tension in British defense policy, and it has been since the 1950s. The Dreadnought program is the latest and most expensive answer to that question. The answer, delivered by successive governments of both parties and endorsed by overwhelming parliamentary majority in 2016, is yes. The strategic context in 2026 makes that answer harder to argue with than it was a decade ago. Russia has explicitly threatened nuclear use in the context of the Ukraine war. Vladimir Putin has lowered the threshold for nuclear employment in Russian doctrine. China is undergoing the fastest nuclear buildup in history, expanding from an estimated 300 warheads to a projected arsenal exceeding 1,000 by 2030. North Korea continues to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles and submarine-launched capabilities. The nuclear environment is more volatile, more multipolar, and more dangerous than at any point since the Cold War. Against that backdrop, the case for maintaining a credible, survivable, second-strike nuclear capability is not abstract. It is immediate. And the Dreadnought-class is designed to be credible against the most advanced threats that the 2030s, 2040s, and 2050s might produce. Its stealth characteristics are optimized against future anti-submarine warfare capabilities, including advanced sonar, autonomous underwater vehicles, and space-based detection systems that do not yet exist but are being developed by Russia and China. Its reactor will operate for the submarine's entire service life without refueling. Its missile compartment shares architecture with the American Columbia-class, ensuring interoperability with the world's largest nuclear power, and embedding the UK-US strategic relationship in shared hardware for the next half-century. The Trident D5 missile, which both nations operate, is scheduled for service life extension that will keep it operational into the 2080s. The Dreadnought and Columbia classes together represent a shared nuclear architecture that will underpin Western deterrence until most people alive today are dead. There is something profound about the fact that the most important military program in British history is also the most invisible one. The Dreadnought will never appear at an air show. It will never fire its weapons in anger if deterrence succeeds. It will never be seen by the public once it enters operational service. It will leave Faslane, dive beneath the surface of the Scottish Sea, and disappear into an ocean that covers 70% of the planet. Somewhere out there, for months at a time, it will carry the ultimate guarantee of British sovereignty. Quietly, silently, and alone. 10,000 people in a town in Cumbria are building it. 130 sailors will crew it. One person, the Prime Minister, will write the letter that sits in its safe, and the rest of the country will go about its life never quite knowing where it is. Which is exactly the point. The Dreadnought does not defend Britain by being seen. It defends Britain by being unknown. And for as long as it remains unknown, uncatchable, and armed, The calculation for any adversary considering a nuclear strike on the United Kingdom remains the same. You might destroy Britain, but you cannot destroy the submarine, and the submarine will destroy you. That is the bargain. It is terrible. It is expensive. It is morally uncomfortable. And no government has found a better alternative in 70 years of trying. The Dreadnought-class is the latest custodian of that bargain, the most advanced, most capable, and most expensive expression of a single idea, that the best way to prevent a war that ends civilization is to make absolutely certain that starting one guarantees mutual destruction. The submarine that no one will ever see may be the most important thing this country has ever built, and the measure of its success is that it never fires a shot.